and the magic is lost. They tell me your blue skies fade to gray. They tell me your passion's gone away. And I don't need no carrying on. 'Cause you had a bad day. You take it one down. You sing a sad song just to turn it around. You say you don't know. You tell me don't lie. You work on a smile and you go for the ride. You have a bad day. You see what you like.
Yeah, Barry. Got your big boy.
You had a bad day.
Woo!
You had a bad day.
Man, Barry, did you suck it or what? You idiot. They got you. You know what? They got you. And this go around, Barry Morphew, they got you big. Real big. This man, oh my God, how beautiful is this? All right. So, do we love AK Rocks and everything he did? All of it. Unbelievable. And Martin Smallwood, and wow, it's so great. I'm so excited. I was wrong. First of all, let me start out this way. I was totally wrong. I said that he would be arrested in March. Y'all remember that? I thought March. It's going to be like March. I feel it. It's going to be March. I missed it by a couple of months, but we got there. So yay, 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 yay. It's so exciting, right? So he was, in fact, arrested. I'm just going to imagine that he was in his pathetic, gross, disgusting little camper in Arizona. He will be extradited to Colorado. And who wants to go to a trial? Who wants to go to a trial in Colorado? It's a beautiful place. It is party time. I've never been so excited and so happy in all my life. And, you know, it seems a little morbid, perhaps, because you think, how could there ever be happiness associated with such terrible loss, right? I mean, the amount of destruction, the amount of terror that this jerk, this asshole, visited upon Suzanne and her youngest daughter, her family members, her friends, the things that he did to them, to their lives, and then the fact that he has been actually walking around free on borrowed time, it feels triumphant. You know, that he is one of those people who carry such an unmet level of arrogance. You know damn well he believed that this was a done deal and it was over. You know he did. And so, you know, this is, wow. The only other day greater than this day today was the day that they found Suzanne's body. And it was demoralizing and it was horribly tragic. And women all over the world felt empty and discarded because, you know, you're terrorized by men in your life that are supposed to protect you and take care of you. And then when they do the final ultimate act of destruction, then other men protect them, right? And it's a terrible position to be in as a woman. And so finding her body, that was new evidence. Finding her body allowed law enforcement to move forward and continue the investigation and put a case together. And Barry, this time, buddy, it's going to be a dumb deal. Now then, Mr. Morphew, does he have the presumption of innocence, ladies? Hell no. No. Bring charges. I don't care. We know what this household did. Suzanne's poor little body was filled with Bam. Filled with Bam. And in all of the arrogance that is this asshole, he almost bragged about his Bam. It was nearly gloating, talking about, oh, yeah, it's mine. I get it from a vet out in Indiana. Yeah. We're friends like that. I'm a trustworthy guy. Arrogance. They got him. I'm so excited. Okay. So I had to wait like 30 minutes before I could go live. They have arrested him, 77. He's done. He is under the jailhouse in Arizona. Woo! Right? Okay. I know I'm being loud, but oh my goodness, this is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day. And, I don't mind sharing with you guys why I feel like it is a beautiful day. Just, listen closely. Maybe this short little video will show us why it's such a beautiful day for women everywhere across the globe.
Let me see.
Yeah, baby. It's a fat lady. She's saying you know what they say, Larry? Big Bear, it ain't over till the fat lady sings, buddy. You done. You're cooked. You are under the jailhouse. Me too, Denise. Pour up that... Hell, don't pour a glass of Cabernet Sauvignon. Just drink it out of the bottle, girl. We are gonna be screaming at the moon tonight. Yeah. All right. So he does have attorneys, Diane. Hey, Scotty, too hottie. Good to see you. How great is this? Oh my God, it's so great. I'm so excited. Okay, so I had to wait like 30. No, it was probably 45 minutes to go live. My hands were literally shaking. I was so excited. And listen to how weird this is. So weird. So I was working all day and I kept watching the clock, right? And I was working and I was like, oh my God, I got to finish. And I was like, I gotta go live. I got to do this. I got to do that. And as soon as I opened up my Canva, because I was going to make a thumbnail about something else. And when I opened up, literally 5 minutes, I ended work. I quickly sat down to go live and I pulled up my Canva. It was that fast. And when I opened up the Canva, do you know what the first thing was? It was this old red and purple thumbnail that I had done of Barry. And this was back before he was arrested the first time. If you go back and look at my old videos on Barry Morphew and Suzanne Morphew, you'll see that this became kind of like the template that I was using, the red and purple. And I was like, it kind of took me back a minute. And I thought, why did that show up? I haven't used that in a long time. Like, what? Why is that up? And then I sat there. I started working on a different thumbnail. And I thought, no. And I went over to Twitter and I put in the name Barry Morphew. And I was like, holy hell. And the news had only been out for like 12 minutes. 12 minutes. Suzanne was patting me, telling me, finish work, hurry, get to your computer, go. So when I saw it, I was just too excited and too emotional to go live. So I had to calm down. My dogs looked at me like I was crazy. My husband was like, what's wrong? What are you doing here? So here we are. Okay. And I know I'm being loud because I am so grateful and relieved. And I do have something else I want to say. I have please, everybody listen. Christopher Proudfoot. Choke on it. Choke on it, buddy. Pay close attention, Christopher Proudfoot. Pay close attention. All right, now then, I do have, you guys are so great. Thank y'all so much for being here. I'm so excited. I wish Martin and AK Rocks were here. Okay, so I'm just going to do like a total recap of the whole thing, and we're going to go through the indictment. We're going to do it all, ladies. Get your popcorn, get your wine, get it all together. Push all the men out of the house. Tell them this is a no man zone tonight because we are celebrating the end of an idiot. All right. If you like that, let's put a 1 in the chat. Hashtag end of an idiot. Here we go. So Suzanne Morphew went missing from Chaffee County, Maysville, May the 10th, 2020. And I kind of like that this is not quite so specific because we don't really know at this point what transpired between Barry and Suzanne. Okay, all we know is she ended up an hour south of town full of BAM, and he's missing some of his BAM, and he's got some peculiar stories that go along with it, like I was darting deer in my yard so I could cut off their antlers. Absolutely lie. An absolute total just nonsense. Now, at the time of the disappearance, Barry was supposedly on his way to work in Denver or, in Denver. All of this was contrived. This was his story from the first go around. About a year after Barry posted this ridiculous plea, oh, Suzanne, shaking his head no the whole time, right? We were going to kind of find you, Suzanne. We need you back, Suzanne. We love you so much, Suzanne. Shaking his head no the entire time. A year after that, it took a year, Linda Stanley, she ended up arresting him. Now, the CBI actually begged her not to make the arrest. They said to her at the time, we're not ready yet. We're not there. Our case is not ready. Hold off. And she had some elections to win, right? So she didn't listen. And she turned out to be kind of an incompetent person. She has since lost her credentials to practice law because of the way she handled the Morphew case and others. And so she's out, she's gone, and there's a new district attorney and all that. So the case actually went cold. Everybody was feeling very disheartened about Barry Morphew having been, had the charges dropped, let out of jail. His daughter stood right by his side. They celebrated. They lifted their hands up to the heavens in thankfulness to the Lord as they walked out of the courtroom the day that the charges were dropped. So since 2023, the case went cold. It was dismissed in 2022. The case went cold until 2023. Christopher Proudfoot. Hey, you over there. Yeah, that's the one. That's right. You in Tennessee. You might want to pay attention to this, buddy, because you're next. The case went cold until 2023 when Suzanne's body was found in a shallow grave in Moffett, Colorado, which is in the San Luis Valley, about an hour south of where their home was. Since that time, we've gotten a new district attorney. Her name is Ann Kelly. Thank you, Ann. Please do better than Linda, please. And Ann said she's the new district attorney for the 12th Judicial District. And she said that the 12th Judicial District Attorney's Office stands in solidarity with Suzanne's family and the citizens of Chaffee and Saguache counties in pursuing the grand jury indictment. Federal, state, and local law enforcement has never stopped their investigation of Barry Morphew. The grand jury indictment was signed on June the 18th, 2 days ago. And yes, today, this afternoon, Barry Morphew was taken into custody from his little trailer in Arizona. He was taken into custody. The 12th Judicial District's Attorney's Office is exercising an extradition order to get Morphew back to the mountains that he loved so much as soon as possible. They will be holding a press conference today, 6 p.m. in Alamosa. And prepare yourselves, ladies. Everybody, take a deep breath right now. Or a bottle of a sip of wine if you have it. Barry and Suzanne's daughters will be at the press conference. Now, I don't know about you, but that made me happy. I think that suggests that they have found some truth. And hopefully they are reunited with the people that loved Suzanne, like her family of origin and Suzanne's friends. So I think it is a good sign. And I hate to speculate on this, but I do think it looks like it's a good sign that they have good support now from honest, loving people that valued and loved Suzanne. All right, so let's get to the indictment. Hold on. Such a happy day. Such a good thing. Don't get me wrong, it's a horrible thing what happened to Suzanne and to these girls. Absolutely a nightmare. And you know, the reality is that there's a psychological theory that talks about the effects of lost potential, fallen stature, weak ego, and that the accumulating effects of all of this loss and low identity, low self-esteem, that it is enough to cause people to lash out and kill people, those that they love. It is a theory that would very, very easily explain what Travis Decker did to his 3 little girls. It doesn't quite explain what Chris Watts did. What Chris Watts did is a different type of psychological process of strain and built up pressure. But for Barry Morphew and for Travis Decker, these are another one is Andrea Yates, the woman in Houston, Texas, that killed all of her little children. The general strain theory would account for, I think, what Barry did. That he's very egotistical, self-centered man. He grew up in a family where his father had lost his identity. He never achieved the dreams of stardom and significance that he wanted. And he turned all of his unrealized dreams onto Barry. They treated Barry like he was the last great hope for the Morphew name. They drilled it into his head that he was a athletic marvel and that he would be one day on the national stage playing professional baseball. He was kind of denied his childhood. He over-identified with being a caretaker and a savior. He used that as narcissistic supply. And so early on in their relationship as teenagers, Suzanne was objectified. The relationship was very transactional for Barry, that she was sick and she was in need of support and care. Barry stepped up to be the martyr. He stepped up to be the caretaker. And, you know, in a sad and really unhealthy way, he used her illness to build him up to seem like he was a great guy and everybody should admire him. So in the same way that he used his athletic prowess and attempting to be, you know, this accomplished baseball player, his relationship with Suzanne really was filling some of that narcissistic supply that he was so hungry for. And, you know, the more independent that she became, the healthier that she became as she broke those codependent types of behaviors. He felt more and more minimized. He was less and less of a man. The less she needed him, the less significant he felt. You know, he falling out of the baseball, hurting his knee, not having that as access to his identity. I would imagine he was scrambling during those years trying to figure it out. And he turned it all on Suzanne, and that Suzanne had to need him, and it had to be his job to take care of her, that she was nothing without him. And, you know, on the surface, if you're prone to romance, you might say, oh, that's like a Disney story and it's so romantic, but it's not. It is really unhealthy that you would take someone's basically what might be a terminal illness and you somehow use that, parlay that into your narcissistic supply. It's pretty sick. And if that is what the relationship is built upon, then you have to keep that person sick. You have to keep that person in a position that they need you. Otherwise, you lose your access to the narcissistic supply. So there was a great deal of manipulation in the family. The girls were also being heavily manipulated in different ways. And Suzanne found her voice. She found her backbone. She found the ability to say, no, I'm tired of the never-ending cycle of love me. Can't you see how much I need you? You need me. Then she buys into it thinking things are going to change. Then he ends up going out and messing up. He messed up in a lot of different ways. He is a very flawed guy. And then when he would really mess up again, she would get sick and sad and hurt again. And then he would rush in to get narcissistic supply from the pain and destruction that he caused. So it was a terrible never-ending cycle that lasted for years. And she got healthy. She found her place. And that was the end for Barry. And he could not take the loss of identity that he suffered. The money, the baseball didn't work out. The money didn't work out. All the business mess that didn't work out. He was a wreck. And she suffered the wounds of his childhood in essence. There are some strange stories coming out from his family about the extent that Mommy and Daddy Morphew went to insulate Barry from ever having to suffer the consequences of his own behavior and his own choices. So, you know, there's a lot to celebrate here. And more than anything, the celebration is that Suzanne, that she gets her girls back. That's what it means. All right. So Ann Kelly is the district attorney for the 12th Judicial District, state of Colorado. In the name and authority of the people of the state of Colorado, inform the court of the following offense committed and triable of the 12th Judicial District Court. Count 1, murder in the first degree after deliberation. On or about May the 9th to May the 10th, and Martin Smallwood's got a lot of knowledge about that date. It's really important. Barry Morphew unlawfully and feloniously, after deliberation and with the intent to cause death of a person other than himself, caused the death of Suzanne Morphew in violation of Section 18-3-102. At 5:46 p.m. on May the 10th, on Mother's Day, Sunday, Suzanne Morphew was reported missing to police by her neighbor. The last known person, Christopher Proudfoot, woohoo, hey, Tennessee, look this way, Chris. The last known person to see Suzanne alive was her husband, Barry. Who's the last person to see Sebastian alive, Chris? Who would that be, I wonder? Investigators responded to the Morphew residence out 19057 Puma Path near Salida, Colorado, to investigate the missing person report. The house was locked and Suzanne Morphew was not home. Her vehicle was in the garage. There were no signs of forced entry, and her bicycle was missing. Later that evening, her bike was located down a hillside off a dirt road between her house and Highway 50. The bike was located less than a mile from the Morphew home. On May the 14th, her bike helmet was located 10 meters off the side of Highway 50, approximately 1.52 miles west of the Morphew home and approximately less than a mile west of where her bike was located. All right. Hold on 1 minute. I'm having a little issue. We know you're watching, Chris and Katie. Pay close attention to the process, Mr. and Miss Proudfoot. I'm going to reiterate something, Christopher. The first one to talk, the first one to go to law enforcement and say, I'm ready to tell the truth, they usually get the better deal, Chris. They're coming. You may feel like you're going to get away with it, just like Mr. Morphew felt it. They're coming for you. They're coming for you. Barry Morphew was interviewed and told police that he set his alarm and woke up at 4:30 a.m. on May the 10th, 2020. He told police that he left at 5 a.m. on May the 10th, 2020 for a pre-planned work trip in Broomfield, Colorado. According to Barry Morphew, Suzanne was still asleep in bed when he left the house at 5 a.m. on May the 10th. He told police she planned to ride her bicycle that day. Barry Morphew stated that upon arriving in Broomfield that morning, he checked into a hotel before leaving shortly after for the job site. Was that true, Barry? He told police that he received a call around 5 p.m. on Mother's Day from a neighbor while physically at the Broomfield job site. Is that true, Barry? The neighbors told Barry Morphew that his daughters were concerned because they could not reach Suzanne all day. Barry instructed the neighbors to check the house and specifically, hey, why don't you see if her bicycle is there? You know how Suzanne loves her bicycle. See, Barry started the process. Construction of a narrative. Barry said the exact words. Hey, let me show you what happened. But how'd you do that, Barry? You were in Denver. You weren't anywhere around Suzanne when she went missing, right? Barry instructed the neighbors to check the house and specifically to look for her bicycle. The neighbors reported to Barry that neither Suzanne nor the bicycle were at home, and thus started Barry's great fiction. He said, you better call the police. Police interviewed one of Barry's employees scheduled to assist him with the Broomfield job. And Barry, what happened to Jeff? I'm kind of hoping that there's going to be more charges related to the death of Jeff. The employee told law enforcement that the employee and Barry were not planning to leave for Broomfield until the evening hours of May the 10th. They were supposed to drive together. Instead, Barry left without telling the employee. Barry called that employee at 11:18 a.m. and informed the employee that he had already left without them. When the employee arrived in Broomfield that evening, the employee noticed that Barry Morphew had failed to bring the proper tools with him for the job and did not have the necessary materials. I don't even think they had been ordered, or maybe they had been ordered, but they were scheduled to arrive like 2 days later or something like that. Another curious thing about that was that when Morgan and Jeff left to go to Broomfield, they didn't leave and go straight up like through, what would be the shortest route. They actually went south and over to Colorado Springs and then up on the interstate, which was actually a much longer path. And nobody's ever really answered for that or accounted for why Morgan made that decision. But hey, Morgan, girl, if you're out there, you can come right up on panel and tell us all about that morning ride, why you went to Colorado Springs to get to Denver. That is an interesting question, Morgan. Review of the cameras, which, Martin Smallwood and AK Rocks did so much work with the telematics on the truck, the videos. We're going to have to go back and look at all of that again. Their work was absolutely amazing. So we're definitely going to have to be doing that while we're waiting on the trial. Review. I'm sorry, the birds are going crazy again. I thought they were calming down. Let me move them. Just take a second. I'll be right back. Have a drink of wine. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Okay. In early interviews with Barry, he told law enforcement that his marriage to Suzanne Morphew was the best. Was it, Barry? Was it really the best? Because Suzanne didn't think so. Neither did your daughter. That the two had had a wonderful weekend together. When Barry was asked whether Suzanne would say anything different about their relationship, Barry stated no. And then he burned her diary in the fireplace. Barry Morphew's statements about his marriage to Suzanne were inconsistent with other witness accounts and evidence located. His daughters. Specifically, investigators learned that Suzanne confided in people that she was unhappy in the marriage in the weeks and months leading to her disappearance. She discussed plans to divorce Barry with her closest friend. She maintained documented notes of problems in the relationship recovered from electronic devices and the physical search of the Morphew home. Suzanne Morphew had been having a secret affair with an old acquaintance who lived out of state, who failed her. She communicated with him daily over LinkedIn and WhatsApp. Suzanne's last known electronic message to anyone was to this person on May the 9th. Why are we naming this person? A man with 6 children and a wife. Suzanne's last known electronic message was to this person on May the 9th at 2:11 p.m., just 32 minutes before Barry Morphew returned to the home that day. Again, Martin Smallwood has amazing information about this period of time. An overall timeline of the week of Suzanne Morphew's disappearance shows that the disappearance coincided with her daughter, the other occupant of the Morphew residence, leaving on a pre-planned road trip out of state, I believe to Utah. Because of this, Suzanne Morphew and Barry Morphew expected to be alone at the residence starting on May 5th until either late in the day on May the 10th or into May 11th. Suzanne Morphew drove Macy to Gunnison, Colorado on May 5th to depart with her sister and friend on the planned road trip. After May the 5th, Barry and Suzanne were alone at the house. A forensic download of Barry Morphew's cell phone revealed that Barry Morphew had deleted a text chain with Suzanne Morphew from which an image of a single text remained. A screenshot of a text message was saved on Barry Morphew's phone on May the 6th. That image revealed a text from Suzanne that said, "I'm done." And it is done, Barry. I could care less what you're up to, and I have been for years. We just need to figure this out civilly. On May the 11th, 2020, authorities commenced a search of the Morphew residence that spanned several days. The state of the residence and vehicle showed no sign of break-in or intruder. Gosh, Chris Proudfoot, just like your house when Sebastian went missing. Even with no signs of a break-in or intruder, law enforcement collected items of potential evidence and DNA swabs. DNA analysis of the swab collected produced several DNA profile mixtures consistent with what would be expected in the common areas of the home and vehicle. The mixture profiles were processed through offender databases and were compared to the profiles of known individuals who may have been present in the vehicle or the residence. The results did not lead to any stranger or intruder suspects. An expert in DNA analysis testified that law enforcement provided analysts with one of the partial profiles developed from the glove box of Suzanne Morphew's vehicle for further investigation using a keyboard search. This allowed for additional comparisons to profiles in many databases with less stringent quality control standards that the National DNA Index System for the limited purpose of creating possible investigative leads. That expert further testified that there were matches to outside databases nationwide. The term match, used by DNA analysts, does not mean identical. Thank you. Rather, a match only means that there were other profiles that could not be excluded at the limited number of loci available from the partial profile for comparison. The expert explained that she then compared the matches from those databases to the partial profile from the mixture on the glove box and excluded those out-of-state profiles as not originating from the same contributor in all but 3 instances. Finally, the expert explained that just because the profiles from those databases matched at the limited loci available for comparison, it did not mean that any of the people from the out-of-state profiles were the same person that contributed the partial profile to the mixture that was found on the glove box. Law enforcement investigated those 3 partial matches obtained from 3 separate out-of-state sources, all in Arizona. Well, no, there was one in Chicago, and found no connection to the case. No connection to the case. No connection. You hear that? You lovely flower? ISIS, are you hearing? No connection to the case. Law enforcement located a locked gun safe in the garage during the search of the Morphew residence. Inside that gun safe, law enforcement located a dart rifle, a tranquilizer rifle, positioned toward the front of the safe. Law enforcement found packages of new dart, PNEU, like pneumatic, new dart brand tranquilizer darts in the gun safe. The packages of the darts included capped hypodermic needles inside of them, which were designed to load the darts. Law enforcement found one of these needle caps in the dryer after the dryer contents were removed. Law enforcement found men's shorts, Barry's shorts, among the contents of the dryer that were removed prior to finding the needle cap. The shorts appeared consistent with the shorts Barry Morphew was seen on video wearing on May the 9th, less than 1 hour before he returned to the Morphew residence. No tranquilizer formula was located during law enforcement's search of the home and vehicles. Police investigated numerous electronic devices and Suzanne Morphew's social media account, searching, among other things, for proof of life. The investigation revealed that Suzanne Morphew had not communicated electronically with any living person after 2:11 p.m. on May 9th. Martin Smallwood got it right. Her last possible activity on any account protected by password access was 3:08 p.m., over 24 hours prior to her being reported missing. Records showing her typical use of electronics and social media demonstrated that this was inconsistent with her typical pattern of life in the days leading up to her disappearance. Additionally, witnesses indicated they attempted to communicate with Suzanne throughout the time frame, but received no response from her. These witnesses indicated that her lack of response was out of the ordinary. Barry Morphew's electronic devices were also analyzed. A download of the infotainment system on Barry Morphew's truck recovered telematics data showing the location and activity of his truck at certain times on May the 9th and May the 10th, 2020. A download of Barry Morphew's cell phone showed additional location information. Based on data from his cell phone, Barry Morphew returned to the Morphew residence at 2:43 p.m. on May the 9th. The data did not show his phone or truck leaving the residence again until the morning of May the 10th, 2020. The download of Barry Morphew's cell phone registered events related to his phone. An expert forensic analyst determined that some of these events were in fact Barry Morphew's phone being turned off during the time frame from May the 9th into May the 10th. Turning off a cellular device effectively disables its ability to record location information. Specifically, the forensic analyst noted that Barry Morphew's phone download showed it was turned off at 2:47 on May the 9th. Only 3 minutes, only 3 minutes after he arrived home at the residence where Suzanne Morphew sent her last electronic communication to anyone. At approximately 10:17 p.m. the night of May the 9th, the phone was turned back on. So it's like 7 hours later, right? He drives up in the driveway, he turns his phone off. 7 hours later, he turns the phone back on. Barry Morphew's cell phone was again turned off at 4:32 a.m. on May the 10th, leaving the home, prior to him leaving his residence on his trip to Broomfield. And it was again not turned back on until 5:37 a.m. when location information showed him on the road already in the area of Johnson Village, Colorado. Testimony established that the times Barry Morphew turned off his phone corresponded to periods of time of significance in the case where location information was consequently unavailable. Further analysis of the information from Barry Morphew's infotainment system in his truck showed an irregular gap in recorded activities. Specifically, from approximately 3:49 a.m. to 8:10 a.m. on Mother's Day, there is no recorded data registering on Barry's telematics. An indication of no truck activity from telematics is inconsistent with other facts developed from Barry Morphew's phone, surveillance footage, and the statements that Barry gave about his activities on May the 10th. Specifically, telematics data showed Barry Morphew arrive at his residence at 2:43 on May the 9th. It then registered various activities throughout the afternoon at the residence until it ceased at 9:52 p.m. the same night. The telematics data then showed activities resumed from 3:25 a.m. to 3:49 a.m. on May the 10th at a GPS location consistent with his driveway. Barry Morphew reported to law enforcement that he was asleep during that time frame. Must have been those little elves, Barry. No, it was those little chipmunks, wasn't it, buddy? The little chipmunks were out there moving your truck around. When recorded telematics data became available again and the records from the infotainment system download at 8:10 a.m. on the 10th, corresponding GPS coordinates showed that Barry had already arrived in Broomfield. This gap is registered data is inconsistent with the pattern of telematic data captured in the days and weeks leading up to this event. I want to be really clear here. You guys, are you guys aware? Like, do you accept and acknowledge that this portion of the arrest affidavit, this is the work that was done by AK Rocks and Martin Smallwood? You guys are, if you are aware of that, put a 1. Because there was some terrible games that were played. And AK and Martin was not represented fairly. And we got to do this. We got to do the right thing. You can't let criminals tell lies and use the internet to spread stories to try to save their own asses from the consequences of what they did. So AK, Martin, every woman in the world thanks you for what you did and drawing attention to the telematics and all the funny business that happened. It's amazing what you guys did. Amazing. All right, I've got to take a drink. Hold on. It's a lot of reading out loud. And if you guys want to type, thank you, AK, thank you, Martin, it's appreciated. Okay. Now, phone records for both Suzanne and Barry were analyzed by investigators. The FBI CAST team analyzed phone records for both Barry and Suzanne to determine location information and device usage. In Suzanne's phone, there was no indication of any user-initiated activity after the time Barry returned home at 2:43 on May the 9th. Suzanne's cell phone device continued to connect through RTT data with the cell tower that services the Morphew home throughout the night of May 9th into early morning May 10th. These automated data connections were consistent with the tower reaching out to the phone to determine its location and not initiated by the user of the device. After 4:23 a.m., Suzanne's phone ceased to connect at all, ever again. Just 8 minutes later, that's 4:23 a.m., her phone, it's done, finished. 8 minutes later, what would be 4:31 a.m. on Mother's Day, Barry's cell phone data showed his phone ceased to connect starting at 4:31, consistent with cell phone download, showing it powering off at 4:31. Barry Morphew, you're a dumbass. I'm sorry. You're an idiot. Suzanne Morphew's cell phone never registered on any towers other than the tower consistent with the Morphew residence from the time Barry returned home at 2:43 p.m. on the 9th to the time it ceased activity altogether at 4:23 a.m. on May the 10th. Despite searches for the device, Suzanne Morphew's cell phone was never found. Police interviewed people that knew Barry prior to his move from Indiana to Colorado in 2018. These witnesses told law enforcement that Barry was a deer farmer in Indiana. Several individuals told law enforcement that Barry used a specific tranquilizer called BAM to sedate and transport deer on his deer farm. Barry Morphew admitted to using BAM in both Indiana and Colorado. Specifically, he admitted to using BAM in Colorado as recently as April 2020, which is just weeks before Suzanne goes missing, right? Stating that at that time, he had tranquilized a deer from the breezeway of the Morphew residence. And on September 22nd, 2023, human remains were found around a shallow clandestine grave in Saguache County, Colorado, near Highway 17. The remains were found a few hundred feet down a dirt road off Highway 17. This location was less than an hour south of the Morphew residence by main highways. The remains were determined to be those of Suzanne Morphew. The majority of her bones were recovered. Many of the bones were significantly bleached. Along with Suzanne's bones, law enforcement recovered a cancer port and items of clothing, some of which were consistent with bicycle clothing Suzanne was known to wear. There was no visible perimortem trauma observed. A board certified, I'm going to peek in on you guys and see what you guys are talking about. The games people play every night and every day. Maybe eventually he can share cells with Chris Watts. Makes me side-eye my husband. He looks so nice. I know, Holly. He is one creepy man. He is, Star Child. He's a creepy dude. And the more you learn about him, the creepier he is. And he's also a really handsome man, right? Physically, he's a very handsome guy. That makes him dangerous. Like Chris Watts, another guy that a lot of women would say was attractive and yet capable of monstrous acts. I mean, it's interesting. We even have some current cases with missing kids where, you know, the dad involved might also be considered handsome, but behaves like a psychopath. Hey, Nick, how are you doing? I think he thought he was God. Barry is a very religious man. Let me qualify that. He's an incredibly religious man. He's quoted Bible script his whole time growing up. It's drilled into his head that, you know, you got to follow God. I mean, his background and history, it almost reaches sort of Pentecostal level kind of structure. And the terrifying thing is, and I don't know what to make of it, but he seems to really buy into the whole thing, which is scary because in the previous arrest affidavit, the first one, he all but blamed God for the death of Suzanne or the disappearance of Suzanne. That's how much he bought into it, Nick. He did, the way he's talking to the investigator, he's saying, you know, that God had to do this to her. This was like her punishment because she was like having an affair because she violated the parameters of marriage. Now, I ask you, how crazy do you have to be to blame God because your wife goes missing? That is a level of arrogance that I don't even think Chris Watts managed to get to. But we do know Christopher Proudfoot is incredibly arrogant in that same kind of way, isn't he? Like he just is like, hey, you're all so stupid and I'm so smart. It's pretty humbling to listen to someone who legitimately prays as if he believes it, who legitimately presents himself as this pious, observant Christian, and then who turns around and tells investigators, well, Suzanne was playing with fire when she committed infidelity. I think God did this. I think God did it. God made her disappear because she violated our marriage vows. That's really scary. Oh, he stole a ton of money. Absolutely, Nick. And taking people to court all the time. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, so it is a weird story about the infidelity with Barry Morphew, because the investigators never really found evidence of him cheating. So it's kind of scary, right? But Morgan, don't get me wrong, the way Morgan answered one of the interview questions, she said, I'm a woman, I'm not the other woman, right? Like she said it in a way that was sort of like, yeah, he's cheating, but it's not with me. So I'm not saying not at all that Barry's not a philanderer. He followed some really creepy social media pages. One social media, a YouTube channel by a young woman. She kind of presented, her channel is kind of like, it's almost like grooming kind of information. She like reads her old diary, and she talks about like all of her early sexual activity when she was a minor, when she was young. And so she talks about on her YouTube channel, and it's not pornographic, so she gets away with it, but she's talking about like being a minor and having oral sex with an old guy. And Barry actually followed this girl's YouTube channel, watched it. I mean, it's scary. So, yeah. But to me, for today, it's very important to remember that when he was being interviewed before his first arrest, he did say that this was God's fault that she went missing. She had to be punished because she cheated. That's pretty horrifying, right? One of the reasons why I'm kind of glossing over a lot of the detail here is because we got a long time to talk about this, and we are gonna. But also, there's so much information. AK Martin, they put out so much incredible, like actual facts, concrete evidence, that there's so much. If I tried to like talk about all of it today, we'd be here for like 4 days, 5 days. So just trying to stick to the arrest affidavit today and add in every now and then some little bits of detail. Okay. Let's see. All right, there's about the grave site. Now, this is important. Okay. Let me get a drink of water. I'm so sorry. I wish I had somebody else to help me read. A board-certified forensic anthropologist, a botanist, and an entomologist all analyzed the remains of Suzanne, and several important observations were noted. There was a distinct lack of bug activity, which was inconsistent with the remains having decomposed at that location. The clothing items lacked evidence of decomposition, which was inconsistent with Suzanne Morphew wearing the bike clothes at the time her body decomposed. Additionally, oh, that's so big, isn't it? That is so big. Barry, you're an idiot. Barry, if no one has told you this year, I want to tell you, you are a dumb ass and you're an abusive asshole. Additionally, there was a lack of animal predation on the bones, there was only a very small amount of desiccated soft tissue found on a few of the bones, and there was no hair mass located at all, because the hair will fall off in place and kind of make a halo. All these features would have been expected if this had been the original gravesite where decomposition occurred. The forensic anthropologist opined that based on these factors, it was unlikely Suzanne decomposed from a fresh body to a skeleton at that location, the Saguache County location. That means that this sick SOB moved her. I'm going to let that just sink in. This psychopathic deviant dug up her bones and relocated her to a different place. And you've got to ask yourself why. What some civilians like AK Rocks was doing an awful lot of meddling. He was doing an awful lot of climbing and going into caves, wasn't he? What happened, Barry? Was he getting close? Is that what it was? He was on to you, wasn't he? And that's why you started all your dirty crap. Oh, man, I hate this man. Thank you, AK, for being wonderful. All right. The El Paso County Coroner's Office conducted an autopsy. In addition to the standard toxicology testing, the coroner's office conducted additional toxicology testing at the request of law enforcement for the presence of a chemical known as BAM, and that is a combination of three very powerful tranquilizers: butorphanol, azaparone, medetomidine. The chief toxicologist tested Suzanne Morphew's bone marrow for the presence of BAM. All three of the individual chemicals that comprise of BAM were present. Additionally, the metabolite of butorphanol was present. The presence of butorphanol metabolite eliminated the possibility of post-mortem BAM contamination. Boom, mic drop. That means Barry cannot use as a defense, hey, someone else killed her. They knew where she was buried. They found out later on about I have BAM, and so they shot her full of BAM when she was already dead and framed me. Sorry, Barry, that ship has sailed because they are smarter than you are, buddy. Let's see, Morphew's body had begun to metabolize the drug before she died. The coroner's office determined cause of death and manner of death as follows: homicide by unspecified means in the setting of butorphanol, azaparone, and medetomidine intoxication. A pharmacologist and medical doctor testified, they're talking about to the grand jury. A pharmacologist and medical doctor testified about the toxicology testing done to determine the presence of BAM in Suzanne Morphew's remains, about the chemical compound itself, and about the possible effects of that compound in humans. The expert explained that the toxicology testing done by the coroner's office met scientific standards of reliability and accuracy. He further testified that BAM is a chemical mixture of three specific compounds that are used for sedating large animals for medical treatment or movement. Yeah, Barry, it's used to sedate bears, like that wander into Aspen or whatever. Yeah, that's what you shot little 100-pound, teeny tiny Suzanne with. The woman that gave birth to your two babies. You're a disgusting human being. Back in 2020 and the years leading up to Suzanne Morphew's disappearance, BAM was sold by only one company in the United States and could only be obtained by a prescription from a veterinarian. BAM must be administered into the bloodstream through intravenous or intramuscular injection to be effective, as the skin and the GI tract do not absorb it effectively. BAM does not cause sedation instantaneously, but it takes several minutes to take effect. BAM is designed not to be lethal, and it comes with reversal agents in the prescription kit. However, BAM is not FDA approved for any human use. None. Zero. For that reason, there are no scientific studies available that address the possible effects the compound would have on humans. The pharmacology expert testified that the compound would render a recipient wholly immobile, vulnerable, and unable to resist any constrictions to the recipient's ability to breathe. Records were obtained for BAM prescriptions related to Barry. Records were also obtained for BAM prescriptions for all persons within the county and adjacent counties to where the Morphews lived and where Suzanne Morphew's remains were located. Those records showed that Barry Morphew obtained and filled several prescriptions for BAM while living in Indiana. Barry Morphew's last purchase of BAM by prescription was in March of 2018. Barry obtained multiple kits that each contained multiple doses just a few months before the Morphews moved to Colorado. Yeah, around the time that the two girls were killed at Delphi. Records further showed that no other private citizens or private businesses in any of the surrounding counties had purchased BAM prescriptions from the 2017 to 2020 timeframe. Think about that, y'all. No private citizen purchased it in 3 years except Barry. Colorado Parks and Wildlife and the National Park Service are the only entities that received prescriptions of BAM in those counties from 2017 to 2020. I told y'all that back when all this happened and it came out about the BAM. I said that particular array of medications, it's only used by the specific team that goes out to respond to nuisance animals. I'm not saying the bears are nuisance. Well, they are nuisance. They're dangerous. It's their home. It's their mountains. But that's the goal of this medication is you can shoot it with them. You can stop a moose. You can stop a bear. You can stop a bison, but it won't kill them. It won't sedate them to the point that they'll die. Investigators learned that each of these government entities enforce tight regulations to monitor the BAM prescription storage and use. None of the BAM from those agencies was unaccounted for. So Barry, you know what that means, dummy? You're the only person in like 3 counties that would have even been able to have the BAM to put into your wife's poor body. You're a fool. Ultimately, the prescription records show that when Suzanne Morphew disappeared, only one private citizen living in the entire area of the state had access to BAM. Barry Morphew. Jesus Christ. All offenses against the peace and dignity of the people of the state of Colorado. And then the next document is the true bill that makes me want to cry. I'll tell you why in just a minute. He's literally the only person in the state that had access to BAM. And his wife was killed with BAM. What does he say to his daughters? Think about that. So while we're celebrating, and this is a great day for women and survivors of domestic violence, the truth is that these kids, they're young women now. They're not kids. They're grown adults now. They have been manipulated to a level that you and I cannot understand. And so if you were one of those people that you were hands off when it came to these two girls previously, before he was arrested, then pat yourself on the back, because they have got a hell of a road ahead of them for healing. But the gift in this horrible, terrible situation of domestic violence where Suzanne lost her life, the gift is actually from Suzanne herself. The gift is, there's no question in their mind that their dad did in fact do this. And I think he did it because he was out of money. He had all but destroyed his company. His wife was leaving him. And he was a nobody. He was an absolute nobody. And in the end, that's how he ended up. He ended up in this teeny tiny little camper. No shade of the great and powerful Barry, going to be the, baseball champion. None of that remained. They arrested a man who was nothing, had nothing, and had no hope of ever recovering his former identity. So the next document is just from the grand jury, where they offer the true bill. It says, foreperson of the 12th Judicial District Grand Jury do hereby swear and affirm that each and every true bill returned to this indictment by the 2024-25 12th Judicial District Grand Jury was arrived at after deliberation and with the assent and agreement to the existence of probable cause by at least 9 members of the 12th Judicial District Grand Jury, subscribed and sworn to before me in the city and county of Alamosa, state of Colorado, the 18th day of June, 2025. Respectfully and submitted and approved. Let's see. And then it took them 2 days to negotiate and map out the actual arrest of Barry, because he has been living behind a biker bar in a camper. Like, you can't have, I wish you guys had the opportunity. Some of you have. I wish you guys had the opportunity to see their property. To see their property, where they were living, the lifestyle that they had. I don't know how you do that. I don't know how you achieve that level of heaven. And then you turn around and tell yourself, hey, I got a great idea. This is such a good idea. I'm just going to kill her. That's all I got to do. I'm just going to kill her. And then I will end up getting all of her money. And yeah, that's such a good idea. Nobody's going to ever know. Like, that's a really great idea. It's just hard to understand. A lot of people have the distortion, the mental cognitive distortion, that in order to have happiness, to find joy, that they have to have things of comfort. Maybe they feel like, oh, if I had $1 million, I would be happy. Or they got to have a big, pretty house. If I had a big, pretty house, I would be happy. If I had a pool to swim in my backyard, I would be happy. If I was physically fit and not 50 pounds overweight, I would be happy. If I had a man that loved me, if I had a wife that didn't cheat on me, I would be happy. And you know what I'm going to tell you? It's all a lie. All of that is a lie. I lived in Egypt for nearly 10 years. I watched the poorest people that you can ever conceive of. These are families with little bitty babies, infants, little toddlers, and they live in structures that have not been completed. that have mounds of dirt all around them. And the reason they live in these structures that don't even have walls, most of the time they're just columns. Maybe they have a couple of walls built. The reason they do that is because the wealthy Egyptians, or whoever they happen, Jordanians or whatever, they don't complete building the building because then they don't have to pay taxes, right? But then when they get ready to make some cash, then they rush in and they complete the building, and then they turn around and sell it. And so they hire these poor, poverty-stricken families to live in these uncompleted buildings, and they pay them monthly to be like the kind of like the security guard or the caretaker. For money, the whole family walks up the road and goes to the grocery store, where the little kids wait until a fancy car drives up to park, and then they run over and then they beg for money. And the parents sit in the shade and wait for them to come back with their money. These people laugh and play more than anything that you can even imagine. And my husband and I, we were driving to the mall. There was a big mall about maybe 30 minutes from our house. And in the back seat behind us, there was my daughter, a Christian. There was a really good friend, and her family was Muslim. And then there was another little American girl, Logan, and her family were atheist, right? So we had Alessia. So Alessia's Muslim, my daughter Christian, and then Logan was atheist. My husband and I, they were, let's see, how old were they? They were about 11, I think, maybe 11, 12, maybe 12 years old. And we're on the way to the mall, and my husband and I are sitting there, and we kind of start listening to these girls. And you know what they're doing? They're in the back seat, and they're talking about Jesus. They're talking about Jesus, not whether Jesus is real or not, but why each of their religions looks at Jesus differently. And they were trying to work out in their 12-year-old brains that maybe Jesus was just one guy, but different people of different religions were explaining and describing the same guy. 3 12-year-olds from completely different religions found a way to say, oh, no, we're all the same, right? I mean, it's amazing. So as part of us living there and my daughter being exposed to these different ideas, and it wasn't taboo, everybody was so well integrated. Like everybody went to school with everybody. It was amazing. And when we came back to the United States, my daughter was in the 10th or 11th. She must have been in the 10th grade. And the writing assignment that they got was something along the lines of like, tell me about happiness. Like what do people need to be happy? That was the assignment here in the United States in an English class. And I got a note from her teacher, and her teacher was like, whatever my name is, Jules, you need to ask to read this paper that she wrote. It's really something. You need to make sure you read it. And so I said, let me see the paper, blah, blah, blah. And my daughter wrote, and this is going to make me cry, but my daughter wrote a story or an explanation for what makes people happy. And she started out her paper by talking about our time in Egypt and watching the people in Egypt, the level of happiness and goodwill that they had day by day by day. And she said that never anywhere in the United States or Europe, any of her travels, had she ever seen a more collective group of people that seemed to be overwhelmingly happy people. And then she went on to talk about this family that lived in this unfinished building near our villa, and we would give them clothes and food and stuff like that. She went on to talk about that. She talked about how much love was in their family. And that they didn't really, they didn't have anything. And she talked about the experience of her giving them clothes and toys and things like that for the kids. And she said that at the time she could never make out what they had to be happy about. And then she ends the paper with, as I sit and write this, surrounded by any luxury that money could buy, she said that she wished that she had discovered what made them have such joy and happiness when they had nothing. So finding happiness and being at peace where you are is something that's coming from inside of you. It doesn't have anything to do with what you own, how much money you have, what you look like, if other people, are jealous of you. None of that. The happiness is coming 100% from how you see yourself and what you choose to think about. If you think about what you don't have, you're going to be in misery, because there's a lot of great things out there in the world, and there's no way that any one person can have all of it. But why not turn and look at the things you do have? Find the joy and the happiness, because if Barry Morphew had that skill, he would not be sitting in jail yet again. It's for real, illuminating ink. It is for real. He is done. Game over. All right, now then, I do too, Lisa. I do too. And I try to tell myself that every time I see all these people screaming and yelling at each other online, and they're making fun of how each other looks, and they're making fun of each other's houses. And I'm just sitting there just going, what is the point? You guys are all in misery. Stop. Because misery makes people make bad choices. Yes, absolutely, Enoch. Yeah. Here's another part of what I learned from Egypt a lot, because we were there almost 10 years. It was a life-altering experience for me. When I moved to Egypt, and I had a little girl, she was a baby at the time. When I moved over there, I literally moved with one suitcase. I had a suitcase for my things, and my daughter had a suitcase. That's it. When I tell you that's it, I'm not kidding. Nothing else. I had a purse and a suitcase, and she had a suitcase. When we first went over there, we were living in a hotel room. A regular hotel room, not a suite, not a great big fancy thing, just plain old hotel room. And, little by little, we got it together. We figured it out. And those were the happiest times. We had a beautiful house. We had a really, really pretty house, and the one thing I think that I really missed was I didn't have my convertible. So I have a convertible Mustang GT, and I was really unhappy about not having my car. That was uncomfortable. But other than that, no. We just had our suitcase, had a couple of bits of clothes, and everything we had over there was stuff we bought there. And so, yeah, it's your happiness, your sense of safety, your sense of self. It's an internal experience. You can be happy anywhere you are. One time we got caught up in immigration. Oh my God. They had like 4 747s come in at one time. And so we had hours sitting there at immigration. And of course, you have to collect your bag and then check in again after you get through immigration. It's that headache. Anyway, we were stuck there for hours and hours. And I had this little girl. My son is a bit older than my daughter, but my daughter was very young and she was weary, from traveling. And I was just looking around and everybody was just so mad and everybody was just grumbling. And I was too. Don't get me wrong. I was in a bad mood. And then I thought, you know what? Make the best of it. There's nothing you can do. You can't leave here. You have to go through it. You don't have a choice. So I told my son, I gave him money. I said, you know what? Go buy food, go buy drinks, buy dessert, buy snack stuff, and come back and we'll be ready. And I turned the suitcase, I turned it down, made like a table, covered it up. I got like a sweater from inside the suitcase and covered it to make it more like a table. Had my daughter sit down. I told her, just imagine we're in a restaurant. We're sitting at our table in a restaurant. We're going to do great. And so, we divided our food out. We had our little picnic and it was really great because, we looked around and other people were like, oh, that's a great idea. And more people began to kind of make a nest, right? Kind of get to a place of just, we're here, make the best of it. So, I do think about that with Barry. I think it is just as tragic as it can be that any one person reaches a place of such loss that they're nothing without the things they think they need. He thought he would be nothing. He thought that without the money, without the big house, without the business, he would no longer exist because that's all he ever defined himself with. And without success and without money, without the big fancy house on the hill, then who is Barry? And when that's where you're operating from, that all those things that someone is about to take away from you, then you will do dramatic things just in an act of self-preservation. So it's really terrible. It's really sad. And, you are who you are on the inside. And all those things around you that you think is so important to you, it's just stuff. The real person, the real happiness, the real misery, it's all self-prescribed. It's coming from inside of you. All right. Reminds me of Dr. Turek. Exactly, Dr. Turek. Absolutely, Holly. Yes, absolutely. And the same thing with Chris Watts, I think, but his was a bit different too. What happened with him is better explained by another theory. He wasn't guided by what other people think of me. That wasn't his thing. He had something else that was going on, but definitely, the Travis Decker and Barry Morphew, two peas in a pod, in my opinion. Just curious. I know you are not a psychic. I'm not a psychic, but I am a psychologist. Will this go to trial, or is there so much evidence now that he may plead? I'm going to tell you something about old Barry. Will he plead? Let me think here a minute. There's a lot to consider, and I'll do it out loud. So he's lost his daughters. He's lost his daughters. He's not in danger in terms of his mom and his sisters because they didn't like Suzanne anyway. So he'll still have their support. He's been living in a camper. He's not really been able to recover in terms of his business. He's lost a lot of really good friends. No, he won't plead. He will not take it. I don't think he'll take a plea deal. Here's why. He's not going to take a plea deal because he already got away with it one time. I'm not telling you the reality. I'm telling you what he's thinking, his mind. And remember, he's an actual narcissist. So Let me think a second. No, he won't plead. Nope. He will, he's going to fight it. His mom and his sisters are going to push him to fight it. He'll do what they tell him to do because they are the only identity that he has left, in my opinion. He already got away with it one time. He's going to use this defense, this idea that he's been targeted and set up. And I don't know who the third person, the other guy did it. Who would his third person be? Who would he blame it on? Let me think a minute. Of course, there's Jeff, right? Oh, Jeff. He might try Jeff Puckett. He may try Jeff. His life based on his selfishness did not turn out exactly the way he planned. In fact, completely the opposite. Yeah. Yeah, right, Allie. We were like right together. Boom. Perfect. No, he has different attorneys, Miss Catherine. His attorneys are, let's see, I had that. Where did it go? Oh, shoot. I'm sorry to be kind of disjointed. What is I had their website up a minute ago. Hold on. Maybe Scott Reich will know these attorneys. We'll have to watch Reich tonight. Let's see if I can find it again. Is it? That makes me so mad because I just had it pulled up and I don't know what I did with it. Well, I don't know what I did. I'll find it. It was in my. I may have inadvertently closed out that. I'm gonna have to get it again. I inadvertently I can see their logo. It's a big green. Because the attorney put out a statement for Barry today. Let me try. There's just so much. There's so many articles about Barry and Isis. Her name is not Isis. I call her Isis. Her name is Iris. Okay. But I like to call her Isis. Okay. Because I'm just a little smart aleck. Let me see if I can get it to come up a different way. June 20, 2025. Let's see if that pulls it up. I think we got it. Yes, we do. David Beller, Beller. The statement is, yet again, the government allows their predetermined conclusion to lead their search for evidence. Barry maintains his innocence. The case has not changed. The outcome will not either. Hey, David Beller, fight me. Yeah. The statement reflects the defense's position that the prosecution is pursuing a biased narrative, asserting Morphew's innocence and confidence that the outcome will remain in his favor, consistent with the dismissal of prior charges in 2022. No additional statements from Morphew's defense attorney on this date were found in these sources. So, what I tell you, he's going to fight this, all because he's a narcissist and he won the previous one. The charges were dropped, correct? Now, David Beller, Scott Reich, help us out here, friend. Do you know this dude? Because David Beller does not sound very smart to me. Just my opinion. He says, oh, the evidence remains the same. There's nothing new. I'm sorry. Is there new evidence? I'm going to wait for the side chat to talk about it. Is there new evidence? Oh, 100%, my friend. Excuse me, David Beller. You did read the part about the BAM, right? You are aware that in the previous arrest affidavit, David Beller, that your client, Barry Morphew, bragged about having BAM, bragged about his veterinarian buddy in Indiana that kept him stocked up on BAM. Are you aware of that, David Beller? I'm sorry, David Beller. Are we communicating here, sir? Man. And what about telematics? Correct, Kelly? The telematics, AK Rocks, Martin Smallwood, those telematics blow it out of the water. Don't sit there, David Beller, and blow smoke up our... Don't do that. We know this case 100 times better than you do or that you ever hope to, sir. Trust me on this. The new information, David Beller, it's shocking. So you go on, let old Bear lead you down the primrose path. See where it takes you, Mr. Beller. It is professional suicide for you to take on the case of Barry Morphew and actually think you're going to go to trial. But you go right ahead, because me, I've got a date with a hotel room, and my happy ass is going to be sitting in that courtroom. I'm watching every single second, Mr. Beller. I'm going to watch you fall on your face. I'm going to watch you fall, and I'm going to laugh. Ha, 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 ha. Old David Beller should have asked us, do you think I should represent Barry Morphew? Because the collective wisdom of we the women, we could tell you real quick what you should not do where Barry Morphew is concerned. But you go ahead. You have you some boy time with Barry. Okay, David Beller? Have you some boy time. Y'all sit around and talk about how tough and cool and what big boys y'all are. We the women? Go ahead. Go on. Anne's got this. Anne is going to whip your ass all over that courtroom. She going to jump on your head and sing cock-a-doodle-doo. All right. I'm throwing smack. I'm going to be quiet now. Right, Diane? That's right. We know what we're talking about. Allie knows. Allie knows. Oh, blissful elixir. We know the truth. We know what the evidence was the first go around. And we all know exactly what AK Rocks and Martin Smallwood did. We know. We know what they got. We know what they're coming with. Boy, it's going to be great. It's going to be the best trial ever. And this time, Barry, you asshole, your two daughters are going to be sitting with the people that loved Suzanne or still love Suzanne. Your daughters are going to be sitting with the people that rightly would go to the ends of the earth to protect her, something that you were too big of a wuss to ever do. Karma, yes, boss lady. Karma, she is a sassy girl, isn't she? She is a sassy girl, and she lays low until the time is right. Absolutely. There was no decomposition evidence on the biking clothes. No decomposition. There was no halo of hair. No. This sick man, this sick, disgusting, arrogant, narcissistic, psychopathic deviant literally dug her up and moved her to a different location with the remains of an elk. Why? To obscure her remains. That if people ran across the shallow grave, they'd be like, oh, look, it's just the remains of an elk, which wasn't weird because there was a big hunting area back there. How did Barry Morphew, you big jerk, how in the world do you take the body, the remains of your loved ones, the mother to your two darling daughters? How do you do that and desecrate her body like that? I mean, look, you killed her. Like, we knew that all along. But there's something so inherently almost evil, or maybe it is evil, that a man who proclaims himself to be this Christian, you literally laid hands on AK and prayed over him, literally. And yet you turn around and dig up the remains and mix her body with the remains of an elk? I don't know how anybody gets past the evilness of it. Look, I'm a pretty forgiving, rational person. And I know that sometimes people are overcome by emotion or fear or anger. And sometimes people act out in a moment and they do something that they wish forever that they could take back, and they can't. I get that. I can see how that can happen, and it's heartbreaking. But I cannot make heads or tail out of a man who would put hands on a stranger and pray over them. A man who runs around quoting Bible scripture to anyone that will listen. A man who is at the church every time the doors are open. You would dig up the remains of your deceased wife and then take those remains and mix them in with an elk to hide them? No. Nope. That is sick. That is some level of mental illness. The delusion or the psychopathy is so rich in that thought process. I can't even imagine what he was thinking. I cannot even imagine what he was thinking. Yeah. AK was right. He was absolutely 100% right. Yes, Roger. He was right. Yep, he sure was. It is macabre. Absolutely macabre. And justice for the Mormons, this is such a sad day for them. This is devastating. But it gets them all one step closer to healing, right? That when all the lies are righted, when Suzanne gets her good name back, when her daughters are returned to her by way of love and acceptance, that the girls know now their mother did not abandon them to run off to, where was it, Peru or Argentina? Their mother didn't leave them Their mother didn't defy them, deny them. None of that was true. Those were all lies that Barry told to them. Now they know who they can trust. Now they understand and know Andy, the rest of the family. They love the girls. They wanted the girls in their lives. Suzanne's best friend. Do you know how healing that will be for those two girls to be able to spend time with Suzanne's best friend? So important. It's great. It's wonderful. I mean, really. Thanks for always calling out the narcissist and all your insights. Love you, Smurf lady. Aw, thank you, Fractured Fairy Tales. Thank you. Actually, it's kind of funny because I made a decision. Let's see. Oh, I think you still can't see me, can't you? I did make the decision to go live from my bed, like in honor of, why isn't that showing? Like in honor of the old days when I used to go live, because at the end of the day, I would be so tired from work. Shoot. There I am. So I did go live from the bed, kind of like, an homage back to the day. And then I thought, no, it would be distracting. Don't do that. So I ultimately. All right. So I thought the case would never come back. Barry thought he got away with it. Oh, totally thought that he got away with it, Roger. And he thinks now he's going to get away with it. The fact that previously they dropped the charges, he's conditioned now to fight it. He's conditioned to believe he's going to get away with it again because he's special. It's the stereotypical narcissistic control. They were the days blissful, but we're all still here. There's only a few of us that have fallen by the wayside from the Smurf days. I remember you being in your bed. You had the nicest headboard. Yeah, it's the hookah bed. My husband say, "Oh my God, don't say that. Please don't say that." It's my bed. It's my hookah bed. We're not going to retell the story of the hooker bed. Okay. No, I'm not a hooker. The brand name to the bed is Hooker, and Hooker furniture is very fine furniture. And so when I got my bed, I was so excited because I never believed that I would ever be able to achieve, or have that bed. I fell in love with the bed and pined away for it for a couple of years, and then surprise, surprise, surprise. It's my bed. It's my hookah bed. No more Isis Eton. It is now David Beller. That's where it stands as of today, Roger. Oh, Allie Cattails, you know what? It was so good to see you again. I'm so glad that you came in here to talk with us. Yay! We're back, Allie. We're going to get that sucker. All right. You have a wonderful weekend, Allie. Cericia, so good to see you. Cinnamon, hot, hot, hot. You were there for the original Smurf days, weren't you, Cinnamon? Maybe you should do a monthly special called Jot Bedtime Talk, right? That would be fun. The Equator. Oh, it's such a relief, Allie. And I said March he would be arrested. It was March. And I missed it by a couple of months, but we are here. We got him. It's great. Great, great, great. I can't wait to see Martin and AK. Can't wait. Fractured Fairy Tales. Wonderful to see you. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. And we are going to go back and we're going to rip this guy to shreds publicly as the state of Colorado rips him to shred legally. There you go. Barry's feeling like a 10-cent hooker on nickel night. God, cinnamon. I got to try to remember that, truly. Frenchie, thank you so much for your super chat, Frenchie. I appreciate you. She said, as soon as I heard, I thought of you, Jules. What a day. We have waited so long for old Bear. You are so right. And thank you for coming in here and sharing this with us. It's really, I just feel like it's like Christmas. The day they dropped the charges was such a day. I was so demoralized, right? Because Suzanne, for me, and for everybody, it's different. I get that. But my experience, Suzanne became like this icon. She's like the symbol of the collective victims of domestic violence that everybody wants to just brush away. That it's just too inconvenient for everyone to worry about trying to arrest the guy. Come on, he's sorry he did it. Can't we just overlook this? This is going to be such a big headache to try to get this done. Can't we just get a divorce and move on? That's all you got to do, right? Suzanne became a symbol of every woman's battle with domestic violence perpetrators. The way that it was handled, the fact that people kind of looked at Barry and they were like, oh, he's a man's man. He's a special guy. He was my friend. He was going to be a Major League Baseball player. I work with Barry. Just, it's okay. We can overlook this. Look how handsome he is. It's okay. Look at his pretty house. Men that look like Barry and have houses like that, they don't kill their wives. Are you sure? And I think that's one of the things about Suzanne. She's just like she's just this very powerful image. And it's hard to look away and ignore that someone brutalized her. And the person that brutalized her was the person that was supposed to protect her and take care of her. So I'm telling you, this is a monumental moment for women. Every woman, not just women that are getting beat up every night, for every woman where the legal system sometimes looks the other way, right? So this is a good thing. It's a very, very good thing. And thank you. All right. Nick, look how sweet you are, Nick. Thank you so much for your super chat. I appreciate it. And I love it when you come into chat and you guys are chatting and talking. It's so much fun. And I loved your show and everything's good. Thank you so much. Thanks for always calling out the narcissist and all your insights. I love you, Smurf Lady. Thank you, Fractured Fairy Tales. Okay. And she was defenseless. Absolutely. He's this look, he is a beast. Okay. Just like any good narcissist, with women, female narcissists, they get big boob implants, they wear big fake eyelashes, and they cultivate and build up their gender role, right? Men, narcissist, they build up the masculine archetype role of Hercules. Their muscles are too big and bulgy. They bring their voice down intentionally to a much lower, deeper sound, right? They're playing up that sexuality. Barry's everything. He's an old man. Listen to this. He's an old guy, and he goes up to the gym and works out a couple of times a day, lifting weights and such. And do you know, now in Colorado, you have to understand this, in these mountain towns, not Denver, but up in the mountains, these mountain towns, these people are constantly hiking, whitewater rafting, snow skiing. They do rock wall climbing for fun. They do triathlons just because it's a fun thing to do. Or, hey, I know what I'll do. I'm going to hike through the wilderness from Carbondale over to Aspen. Could you pick me up over at the Fountainhead over in Aspen in 8 hours? I'm fine. I've got my bear spray. And off they go into the literal wilderness where there's not a car, there's no humanity, just you and the bears and the mooses and all the other wild animals. This is their lifestyle. The people there, whether they go to work or they're on the weekend or whatever they're doing, they're decked out in their mountain gear, ready to take on a black bear. So they're very powerful. They kind of look kind of hard, right? Their face, their skin, they look muscular, but they look very kind of hard. And Barry would go into this workout gym a couple times a day, and he is putting his physical prowess, his strength against like 25, 30, 35-year-old mountain dudes. People that all they do is just climb around on mountains and snow ski and do athletic endeavors, right? He beat them in like a push-up competition. Very young men in the prime of their physical lives, outdoorsmen, strong, tough guys. Barry Morphew, an old dude, was stronger than them, had more stamina than they did. Imagine that. It's unbelievable. I am absolutely certain that he's taken steroids. The reason that I am so certain when I say that is this. What did Barry look like when they let him out of jail? Did he even look like the same man? No. Because without the steroids, he begins to take on his skin texture, the muscle tone. It all starts looking like that of a 60-year-old man. But with the supplements, with the steroids, he holds back the clock. So he's presenting as like a 40-year-old guy, 30, 40-year-old guy. And then you got to wonder, so if he's on all this steroid, that he's taken 20 years off of his body, then is that what happened with the droid rage? Did R2-D2 get pissed off and the death of Suzanne was accidental? Now, I don't believe that because of the BAM and it was premeditated and we know all that. But he did some crazy things, and I'm hoping that AK will come out now that the charges have been filed and everything. I'm hoping that he'll come out and talk about Barry's behavior out in the community. We had the one story from the guy in Indiana that was the mayor. Remember when he said that he was he an electrician maybe? I think he said he was an electrician or carpenter. Anyway, he was the mayor and at one time, and he and Barry were on the same job. And oh no, maybe the guy was maybe he was running a plaster crew. Anyway, Barry got into a fight with this guy's crew, and he ends up like literally picking up shovelfuls of dirt, sod, sand, throwing it at these workers. And when the man that was being interviewed, when he came forth and he's like, whoa, what the hell are you doing? You've lost your mind. He said Barry was sobbing like a baby, screaming, just out of control, but that he's just crying and tears are just, the man lost it. And, he said then, when Suzanne went missing after the whole episode where Barry attacked his workers, Barry breaks down and starts sobbing and crying. And he's like, man, that dude is off his rocker. And then it was only a few months later that Suzanne went missing and he saw her picture and saw Barry's picture. And he said, oh my God. And he reached out to the cops and he said, let me tell you about Barry Morphew. Let me tell you what I came face to face with in Indiana. So, yeah, I do think Barry was using quite a bit of steroids. And part of that are the stories about his emotional dysregulation and how quickly, hair, just an explosive temper. And then he went into jail for a while, and when he came out, he didn't even look like the same man. His face was very soft, his skin was loose, and I mean within 3 months he was back looking like a beast. So, of course, he is using something. I think he planned the whole thing years back. That's why he moved to Colorado. I mean, maybe, because there's some other things at play here, Blissful, that might make me believe that. And here's one of those. So they were running out of money, right? Because Barry's a terrible businessman. So Suzanne inherited quite a lot of money, going on close to like $500,000, a lot of money. And the law is, of course, that that's her money and that her spouse cannot access that money. That if she would have divorced Barry right then, when she got her mom's and her grandmother's inheritance, that she could have divorced him right then and he would have had zero claim to her inheritance money. It's the law. What happened, though, when they bought the house, she put her inheritance money into the house. And then her dad also had to give them some money to get it down to where they could buy it. The very minute that she used that money to purchase a family home, that money became Barry's. They both own that money at that point. So she could buy the house and then file for divorce the next day, and then Barry automatically would have gotten half of the value of the house. Sickening, right? Horrible. So do I believe that it was premeditated, that this was one way for Barry to legally get his hands on the Moorman or on her inheritance money? Yeah, 100%. He was hurting so bad for money that he had not even paid for a business license to work in Colorado. That's the first act that he took when he got his hands on the money. He turned around. The very first thing he did, he turned around and he brought his Colorado business license up to date. He was under the gun, y'all. Right before she died, he was about to fall off in it. So he would not have been entitled to it in a divorce. No, not if it. So if she had taken her retirement, her inheritance, she takes the inheritance, she puts it in an account, Suzanne Morphew. They get a divorce. He could not touch one penny, not a single penny. But the minute that she took that money and rolled it into a shared community property state asset, he now owns 50% of it. Yeah, he really screwed her over. It's pretty terrible. I think there's good evidence for the steroid use, and there is a lot of rumor, and I don't know about this, so I don't know. But there's a lot of rumor among the people in Colorado that Barry liked cocaine. So that's kind of interesting, right? And that may explain all of the weightlifting and the stamina that he has, and all that, or he did have. Putting the money into a house owned by both spouses is commingling, and then you lose the inheritance advantage. That's right. Good to see you, Nancy Drew. How are you? All right. Wow, this has been so fun. Fun. Sammy's girl. Thank you so much. Listen, Sammy's girl is a rock star, member for 32 months. Honestly, Sammy, I don't know how to thank. I'm humbled. Like that, to me, that is just, you're a sweetheart. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Reminds me of the Murdoch motive. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Jules knows Suzanne's case inside and out. Thank you, Enoch. We lived this. In fact, they held the arrest affidavit the time before. They held the arrest affidavit. Do y'all remember that? They wouldn't release it even after the man was arrested and he's sitting in jail. They would not release it. But if you remember that, put a 1. And the arrest, oh my God, it was something like, was it 100 pages? It was a obscene, the length of this affidavit. Anyway, they held it. They wouldn't release it. And part of the reason, if I remember correctly, I believe they said they couldn't release it because it would affect sensitive, there were people that could be harmed by it, something like that. And I'm sitting there going, wait a minute. Usually the only time they'll do that is if they're going to be congruent arrest. So like they would arrest one person in Colorado Springs and one person in Denver at the same time. So they hold it so that one cannot alert the other, right? That's usually the reason for holding a arrest affidavit. And in this case, that's not what happened. They held it, they waited, and even when they were trying to get to the preliminary hearings, they still haven't released it. And I was just like, you know what? This is BS. I want to know what they got on this guy because I feel absolutely certain that he did this to that woman. And I went up there and actually went to the hearings. It was 2 days. I ended up meeting Vanessa. So it was a great trip. I made several friends, met some YouTubers, and I mean, we had a good time, and I'll do it again. So that time I went because I wanted to know what the hell they had on him, and they weren't releasing the affidavit. This time I'm going to the trial. I'm going to be there every day. I can work in Colorado because I have a license in Colorado, and I am not going to miss it. So there we have it. So I'll be talking about it every day. All right. Hey, Star Child. Yeah, I don't have a big active. Hey, Shamina, right? Sweet Melissa. Good to see you. Justice Jane, do you have any of the new documents on the second arrest, or is it too soon? No, I just went through it all, Justice Jane. I've got them. I've got the grand jury, true bill. I got all of it. Yep. Yes, Vanessa from Unmasked. We met. We had a nice time. She is the sweetest person. And again, I got to say this, don't believe all the bullshit drama on YouTube. I'm telling you, some of this stuff is crazy. Vanessa's a sweetheart. She really is. She's a nice person. We had a good time. She's smart. And then the reporter, what was her name? What was her name? Can y'all tell me? I don't remember. Shoot. Anyway, I met the reporter that was doing all the reporting on the Watts case. She was very fun. She's just really just nice, down to earth person. She was a lot of fun. Saw the 2 daughters there and their friends. And Barry, I came face to face with Barry. That was a weird experience. He's a weird guy. Lauren Scharf. Thank you, Lacey. Yeah, Lauren Scharf. So met her, spent a couple of days chatting with her. The whole group. It was a big group of us, right? There was a lot of us there. Oh, I do. Vanessa is amazing. Yeah, I hope that this will bring her back out and she'll be doing more content. Yep. Yeah, Lauren Scharf. Yep, that's it. It was, man, it's kind of nice to remember that. It's good. Good. I met Macy's boyfriend. I met his dad. He sat next to me. He was very disturbed. He was really unhappy. You could tell he was trying to reserve judgment on Barry, but you could see it, on his face. He was pretty tore up about it. I also met Suzanne's really good friend, and she approached me. She knew how to YouTube channel. She approached me, and she starts talking to me about Suzanne, and I stopped her and I said, I want you to know I have a YouTube channel, but I am not here to report on what anyone tells me. But I feel like you need to know that before you start talking about your relationship with Suzanne, in case, you want to edit yourself. And she said, no, I'm telling you this because I know who you are. I want you to tell the people. And that was when she went on to tell me that the way I can't remember now exactly how she said it, but that she and her husband were brokenhearted because in the beginning, they believed that there was no way that Barry did it. They were friends with both Barry and Suzanne. And then she said that Barry started saying that Suzanne had a substance abuse problem and that Suzanne had a drinking problem. And he got really vocal with their friends, talking about how Suzanne was always messed up on pills, drunk, And she said, I want you to know that what he is saying is not true. She said, I spend nearly every day with Suzanne. We go out to eat together. We go for walks in the morning together. She said, never, not once have I seen her unsteady on her feet, never slurring her words, never. The idea that she is abusing substances is ridiculous. And she said that Suzanne was like a health food nut, that she ate super clean, super healthy, that she was exercising all the time. And she's crying while she's telling me this. And she said that was when she knew that Barry did it, because he was telling lies about Suzanne and the substance use. And she wanted me to use my channel to put that message out there that Suzanne did not use intoxicants in an abusive way, that was absolutely a lie, and that Barry lied about that. Yep, it's true. I will always believe the day Tyson Draper got involved in the search for Suzanne was divine intervention. I tried to reach out to him and haven't heard anything yet. Yeah, I mean, he made it happen, right? And I'll never forget. I mean, I don't know how. I'll never forget the image of Barry saying to Tyson, here, let me show you what happened. That was it. You knew the truth right there. Because Barry wasn't there, was he? Barry was in Broomfield. Barry was in Denver. How did he know what happened with the bicycle? How would he know this? And yet he says those words exactly. Hey, here, come here. Let me show you what happened. And then he proceeded to bald-faced lie to Tyson Draper. He told a story like it was a fairy tale. Once upon a time, there was a beautiful woman named Suzanne, and she decided to go for a bicycle ride. So when you hear those fateful words, here, let me show you what happened. Let me tell you what happened. But the person wasn't even there, like Christopher Proudfoot. Christopher Proudfoot sitting there, like checking up, double checking as Katie is telling what happened the morning Sebastian went missing. And he's sitting there shaking his head like, did that happen? Yeah, that's right. You got that right. Or going on these YouTube channels telling people, that's not what happened. Let me tell you what happened. Well, Chris Proudfoot, you weren't there, jerk. You weren't there. So how the hell do you know what your wife did? And the very fact that you show no curiosity at all about what Katie did, what happened that morning with Sebastian, you have no curiosity at all. Why? If it's true, Chris Proudfoot, that you were up around Mississippi and you are not at home, where's your curiosity? Where is your natural curiosity about what happened at your house? Yeah, that tells us everything. And if there was a real cop that was investigating, if you had a real district attorney, everybody else would know it too, wouldn't it, Chris? Oh, now I'm mad. Oh, I feel so mad. Yeah, I agree, Star Child. Yeah, it's a constructed narrative, Nancy. Yep, Barry saying Suzanne abusing drugs was his way of setting the stage to look like she had overdosed or done something to herself. Yeah, totally. He does remind me of Mr. Proudfoot. I mean, the personality, right? Nana Flower Power, how are you? Good to see you. Thank you for being here. Oh, yeah, TikTok. TikTok in Tennessee. Shanann and Suzanne, absolutely. Yeah, totally. Justice, 100%. And the biggest reward of all is that the two girls are now with the family that will protect them to no end. Sebastian could be anywhere. Remember that, Chris. Ashes. Absolutely. And Chris, they found Suzanne even mixed in with the remains of an elk. Don't you worry, Chris. God works in mysterious ways, and karma is God's right hand man. So just rest easy, Chris. You'll be okay. Don't worry. All right. You guys are so awesome. Let's see. I don't even want to end the live because it's just exciting and wonderful. And here's another thing too. You know, with the Karen Reed verdict, my faith in jurors was restored. My faith in humanity, in intelligent human beings, my faith was restored. Because I think that we have gotten into a very frightening habit in this country of thinking that if the cops make an arrest, they must be guilty. We've moved away from the necessity of evidence. We're at a point where no one even knows what reasonable doubt is. So I think that with the Karen Reed experience, which was brutal, it was horrible for Karen, her family, John O'Keefe's family. It's just brutal. But at least we know that it is possible to get 12 people together who are willing to listen to evidence and be willing to call a spade and not toe the blue line. Right? Now I stand with the cops. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I would be as proud as I could be if my little grandson said, I want to be a cop. I would be so proud. But just like anything else in the world, there are really bad cops out there. There's some miraculous great cops. And those wonderful great cops, they're the first ones to tell you there's some bad ones out there. And if they're bad, they'll hurt you. There's bad psychologists out there. There's terrible teachers out there. And if you're really good at what you do and you care about your profession, you're willing to call out the bad ones, right? So it's scary to turn your back on the blue line. And we saw that with Jennifer Coffindaffer. And I like Jennifer. I watch all her stuff. I think she does a great job, but I couldn't do it with the Karen Reed case. I said, this is Jennifer towing the line with her profession. And you can't fault her for that. She's a human being, right? But she's holding the blue line like she's been trained to do. And so I think it is very frightening for jurors to get called into a case, especially one that has a lot of publicity, a lot of eyes on it, and to stand back and go, wow, the whole world thinks this person is guilty, but I've seen the evidence and I don't see it. And now I'm going to have to do the hardest thing in the world, which is to go against the court of public opinion and stand my ground and say, no, you didn't prove it. So with Karen Reed, my faith was restored that it is possible to put together 12 jurors that are willing to follow the evidence and call BS. That was great. So I was happy, just happy as a little lark yesterday about that. To add now today, Barry Morphew being arrested. Again, this is more renewed hope that we've just kind of had some really bad cases, but overall, there's really good investigators out there, right? That's my hope. So I will say this, when I go and I look at this arrest affidavit, I am very happy compared with the way this one is written, the way that they laid out the evidence in this one. It doesn't even compare to what they did the first go around. The first go around was like a college freshman trying to write a dissertation. It was just words. The never ending story. And then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, to the point that you just get lost in the whole damn thing. It's just words. It was just, let me, baffle them with bullshit and put all this in there, instead of there being a well-organized, cohesive presentation of the evidence that matches the charging laws. To see what you're going to charge them with, look at the requirements for those charges, and then present your evidence in a way that parallels the requirements of that charge. So the first one was just the never-ending story. But this second one, ooh, it was like a scalpel. It was surgically sharp. It zoomed right in on what mattered. It was so good. So I am feeling really good and excited to feel positive about law enforcement and investigations again. So that's kind of where I'm at today. What about you guys? If you identify with any of that I just described, put a 1. I'm just curious where we all stand. Do y'all identify at all, whether it's the Karen Reed jury or this arrest affidavit for Barry Morphew, and how it was so much more organized and professional? I wonder how many more cases they manufactured. Diane, it's terrifying to think about, isn't it? And I kept saying that during the Charlie Adelson's trial. I don't like Charlie Adelson. I wouldn't spend 2 minutes with the guy. I think he's probably a horse's ass. But the evidence was all evidence that would convict Donna. It wasn't evidence against Charlie. Charlie is a clear example. He was tried in the court of public opinion, and there was a hearing last week where the defense, Donna Adelson's attorneys brought in, they had a hearing. They're asking change of venue, and they brought in the same information experts that testified for Brian Kohberger's case, laying out the normal publicity in Tallahassee, the normal numbers of stories about people convicted or people going to trial. And then they laid out what Charlie Adelson faced. Then they laid out all the stories about Donna and Wendy. And it was jaw-dropping. Jaw-dropping. For 8 years, they tried Charlie Adelson in the court of public opinion. 8 years. And it wasn't just people like me. It wasn't just, some obscure person on a YouTube channel. These were Tallahassee defense attorneys that made channels so that they could talk about how guilty Charlie Adelson was in 8 years leading up to his arrest and trial. Think about it if that was you. How do you defend yourself against 8 years of a trial by people that hate you? 8 years, Nancy. 8 years. During the Black Lives Matter movement, there was even a Black Lives Matter online campaign to have the Adelsons arrested for the murder of Demarkel. And they said it was because the only people that were charged were people of color. And that the people of color, Katie Magbanoa, Louis Sigfrido, that they were being exploited. The only reason they were arrested is because they were people of color, but the rich white Adelsons would never be arrested. And that there was going to be hell to pay. Yeah. That was the jury pool that they chose from that ended up convicting Charlie Adelson in, 3 hours? So this, for Donna, who is, she's guilty as sin. But for Donna, they're asking for a change of venue. They're trying to get her out of there, and they're using the all of the online attention and all of the hullabaloo reporting that went on, and that it would be impossible to seat a fair jury. And in fact, I did a show not long ago where I talked about how the people they brought in to pick the jury that never did go because Donna lost her attorneys. Only one person that showed up that day for jury selection, only one said, I've never heard of the case. I don't know. Half of them outright said, oh yeah, I know about the case. I watched the trial and she's guilty. Half of them. So you could go back and find that video. I put it out there. It's pretty interesting. So, and I've got statistics and statements and all that in there. So, but yeah, so, and I do think Donna's guilty. Please don't get me wrong. I just think that it wasn't Charlie that was the middleman. I think that Wendy and Katie Magbanoa and Donna did this. I think they worked it together. And Wendy, Katie kept saying Charlie didn't order him dead. Charlie didn't say he needed to die. Charlie never said we needed to do that. She said it during not one proffer, but 2 proffers on video recorded. You can watch it. So, Charlie kind of got hung by his toes, but definitely Donna knew what was going on and Wendy knew, they did it. So, all right. And I come from a law enforcement family. I didn't know that, Diane. Moonlight View. I really did a lot of research into that organization and what was going on at the time. What was that? Let me see what y'all are talking about. Oh, yes, Nancy and Moonlight View. Yeah, the Black Lives Matter people. They got billions of dollars and they kept it all. Bought mansions. Sure did. And no one was held responsible, right? Oh, that's wonderful, Sketty Nona. 20 years, my life destroyed. till the mother came to me and thanked me for involving CPS after family intervention was not working. She said, my daughter wouldn't be alive today without you. Thank you. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Yep. Absolutely. Thank you, Sketty Nona, for having the courage to do the right thing, for sure. So many people are afraid to call CPS when someone's in trouble. I've seen teachers that scared to death. They're mandatory reporters. They're scared to death to call CPS. Never give up. Do what is right. Stand up. There are no rewards, rarely a thank you. Absolutely, Sketty Nona. St. Elmo's Fire. That is my favorite movie. I love that movie. In fact, I may watch it tonight. It isn't Demi Moore. Her name is Jules, isn't it? I'm happy to St. Elmo's Fire. If ever a man deserved to go to prison, you looking at him. You are looking at. And this picture of him that's up on the screen, this is the picture where he and Suzanne are dressed in black, and she's back like in the middle of the room. He's standing up by the door and kind of got his arm like blocking the door. And he just looks sinister, doesn't he? He looks sinister. Yeah, I think he's a bad guy. I do. Press conference at 6. Oh my goodness. I better be quiet, St. Elmo. Thank you for reminding me. I'd forgotten all about that. And remember, the daughters are supposed to be at the press conference. So can we please, for those of you that are spiritual people, prayers for these two young women, please, because this is going to be the ride of their lives, trying to undo the damage of Barry's gaslighting, right? Loss of their mom, followed by their father manipulating them. We don't know if he threatened them. We don't really know. So prayers for these two young women. Zelda, they got him. He went down today. The grand jury signed the indictment on the 18th, 2 days ago, and they went in there this morning and pulled him out of his shitty little camper, and they are now waiting extradition to send old Barry back to Colorado. Yay! All right. I had to celebrate with Zelda. She's my friend. I'm posting something funny. I hope it's okay. I'll post a link. You're going to laugh. Post it. Maybe put it on. Oh, I can't see. That's what's so frustrating. I'm not going to be able to click on it because I'm in StreamYards. I'm not on YouTube. Let's see. And there's a press conference that we got to make sure to make. Hold on. Barry Morphew, you done. Game over, big guy. The fat lady has sung. Okay, let me see if I can click on Zelda's link. I love Zelda. She's my friend. Hold on, I'm going to share what she put up. Hold on. Zelda, this better not be inappropriate, okay? I haven't screened it, so there better not be any naked boobies or anything like that, all right? Please. Okay. Are y'all ready? Oh, why isn't it? There it is. Okay, are y'all ready? He's got a bottle of beer. Oh, I don't care about the beer. Okay.
Okay, so my current husband.
Oh, Bear, you love Jesus and your Bible, yes. Are you mad? Bear's mad. He says, I heart Jesus. He's upset because he can't take this into prison with him.
Oh, poor Bear.
I think we should celebrate with some ice-cold boneyard beer. What do you think?
Woo!
Made here in Oregon. Bend, Oregon. I'm going to drive my crazy bus over to Colorado.
Yay!
And take a case of this. What do you think? Barry's got his Bible. And be strong and courageous. Rejoice in hope. Be patient in tribulation.
Yeah, I don't think
Don't
prayer is
grieve for
going to help him
joy.
now.
For the joy of the Lord is your strength. Walk in faith, not by sight. Yes, Barry, keep quoting the Bible.
Yep.
Wear your I Love Jesus hat. But Jules and I are going to celebrate with some Boneyard beer.
Woo!
Oh, Bear, you love Jesus and your
That's
Bible,
great.
yes.
You are so
Are you
fun.
mad?
Thank you, Zelda.
Bear's
That is
mad.
great. You're a
He
hoot.
says, I
Fun. Gosh. All right. All right. So we've got a press conference. We got a press conference that we're waiting on. And let's see where I'm at here. Y'all give me just a second because I want to. Let's see where it's at. Chipmunks. Here it is. All right. So I got this pulled up now. I'm going to have to write a song for old Barry. What do y'all think? Does Barry need his own song? I think he does. I think Barry definitely needs his own song. And so I'll be working on that tonight. And I know everybody else and their dog they're all going to be going live to talk about old Barry and the arrest affidavit. I hope to see AK or Martin or Martin Smallwood, tonight or tomorrow, sometime this weekend. They put in an enormous amount of work. And that work showed up in the arrest affidavit. How interesting is that? So it's very cool. And so thank all of you, man, for hanging out with me. I sure do appreciate it. And we're going to go out with a classic. This is a Jules classic. Jewels and Gemstones. Here we go. There.
Where is the moment we needed the most? You kick up the leaves and the magic is lost. They tell me your blue skies faded to gray. They tell me your passion's gone away. And I don't need no carrying on. 'Cause you had a bad day. You're taking one down. You sing a sad song just to turn it around. You say you don't know. You tell me don't lie. You work on a smile and you go for the ride. You have a bad day. You see what you like. And how does it feel? More one more time. You had a bad day. Oh, you had a bad day.
There's the beautiful Isis. And Barry Morphew was arrested for the second time this morning in Arizona. And they have already filed documents to have him extradited to Colorado. He was indicted by the Colorado grand jury on the 18th, just 2 days ago.
Where is the moment we needed the most? You kick up the leaves and the magic is lost. They tell me your blue skies faded to gray. They tell me your passion's gone away. And I don't need no carrying on. 'Cause you had a bad day. You're taking one down. You sing a sad song just to turn it around. You say you don't know.
Yeah, I hate you too, Isis. Okay. One thing I did not cover that I should say is that according to the indictment and the documents packet, Barry, should he make bail? Are y'all ready to laugh? Go ahead and kind of loosen up your smiling muscles so that you can do one big, great, big, happy smile when I tell you what I'm about to tell you. Should he get bail? His bail is $3 million. Drum roll. Cash only. There you go. That's for you, Barry. See you guys later. Bye. Oh, should we go out with a song? I need to do a song, don't I? Always like to end with a song. Let's end with this.
Yeah.
One of my favorites.
And I burned that channel.
I'm gonna make one for Barry.
Sinister grifters with a snake oil grin, voracious virtue signalers cashing in. False PIs, they're fixing the game, pointing fingers, but they're all the same. Innocent creators, moms with a cause, digging through the chaos, exposing the flaws. We're hunting for clues, untwisting the lies. Who's driving this shit show straight to the demise? Convertibles roaring, cliffs in sight, like Thelma and Louise on a forever ride. They sail into YouTube.
Oh, thank you, Zelda.
We're all on the ride, no brakes, no trust. Popularity is the spark that'll burn their channels in the dust. Or it'll burn their channels in the dust. Dust.
3 million cold hard cash. Something Barry hadn't seen in a long time. I'm so excited. Barry, you're cooked, buddy. You're cooked. Y'all go over to Scott Rice's channel tonight to kind of celebrate with them too. He's a great creator. Really good people over there. And I love you guys, Moonlight View. This is exciting for all of us. This is so great.
We're all on the ride, no brakes, no trust. Popularity is the spark that'll burn their channels in the dust.
All right, guys, let's watch the press conference. I can't watch it on camera because I'm gonna get sad because of the girls. All right. Okay, but I'll be back tomorrow, maybe later on tonight, on how hyped up I am. All right. See you later. Bye.
Pointing fingers, but they're all the same.